because right now what we're going to do is talk with defensive coordinator Clint Hurtt, who joins us right now. And Coach, I would imagine you are very, very excited to see some of the new weapons you're going to have to work with this year. What do you look for in rookie camp?
Just first and foremost, energy these guys bring every day, which we kind of got a good feel of that through the evaluation process with them coming out, and just the ability, obviously, to learn and how quickly can they process and communicate on the field. So we just came off the field from walkthrough, so I would say it's a really good start to everything for the rookie minicamp weekend.
Coach, I tell people all the time, look at the trenches. People like to follow the football around and see the big players and whatnot, but it starts and ends in the trenches. When you look at the guys you have this year compared to last year, are you going to be able to do things differently? Or are you excited? Just give me just a nice little rundown of the group you have this year.
Really excited, obviously, with the addition of Jaron and somebody we know very, very well. His leadership, his toughness, his physicality that he brings inside, and obviously the addition of Draymond, two guys who are different in terms of the style of play. It's good to have that in different styles of how guys approach it and how they play, blocks, how they rush the passer, things like that. But I also believe that they'll complement each other very well and how they play together. So really excited about having both of those guys and where that's going. And then obviously, we got some veteran guys that we're still kind of going through that process, and I'm sure that'll get worked out with John, Cameron, obviously Cam Young coming on in here as a rookie and seeing what he's about this weekend. Love everything in his approach. Very businesslike, very mature for a rookie, but heavy, long arms, heavy hands, huge hands. I like being around him because I feel normal sized, so it's really good, and having him around. Obviously, Miles is coming back to us, and Miles did a lot of good things last year, and looking for him to continue to take another step forward. So a lot of positives.
Let's talk about the secondary in particular. I know we talked about a lot of the guys in the trenches, and both you and Coach Pete Carroll have spoken so highly of Cam Young that now I'm like, okay, Cam Young, where's Cam Young? Look for him on the field. But I want to talk about the secondary. You got number 5 overall pick Devin Witherspoon. We don't know when Jamal's coming back, but eventually you're going to have him. You have Quandre. You have Tariq off a Pro Bowl season. You have a good group to work with. I know you oversee the entirety of the defense, but how can potentially the talent there help some of what you're trying to do up front?
I've always been a big believer in rush and coverage complement each other. And that was kind of rooted in me from the very beginning when I got into football. In my Miami Hurricane days, we'd play Ed Reed and Reggie Wayne and Reggie was a wide receiver, but Ed Reed and Philip Buchanan, Mike Rump. We had so many guys in the secondary. It helped us as pass rushers because quarterbacks had to hold the ball because the coverage was tight, and there's times that maybe there could be some challenging routes, but rush got there. So it always complemented one another and how they played. So will you have an opportunity to be strong like that with Tariq coming back? And, the biggest area of improvement you make is going from year 1 to year 2, and obviously adding Spoon, Michael Jackson still did a lot of great things last year. We anticipate him continuing to get better. And with Kobe and, like you said, with the guys in the back, that kind of quarterback the whole thing with Quandre and Jamal, adding Julian Love, so obviously we made some big improvements in the back end that I'm really excited about because, like I said, rush and coverage, they complement each other. To the people who think, well, rush makes everything so much better, there's a lot of different ways you can neutralize pass rush, whether it's moving the pocket, cadence, chipping guys with tight ends and wide receivers and running backs and things like that to knock a guy off. You can't eliminate a great cover guy. If a guy can cover and lock guys up man-to-man and things of that nature, and you can mix coverages because of the intelligence that we have in the back end, you can do so many things, and it helps the guys up front, too.
That's a good point.
Coach, lots of questions with the defense last year. You switched to that 3-4. The defense had performances where you locked down Saquon Barkley. I believe he had like 53 rushing yards, and then a guy like Josh Jacobs goes off, and people are questioning, what are we doing, this and that? Is it the 2-gap scheme? Is it the 1-gap scheme? With having a year to get all that information that you have bringing into that 3-4 and bringing in this personnel, how much better do you think this defense can be when it comes to stopping the run?
We will be significantly better. It has to. And that's obviously the 2 big points coming in, stopping the run game and eliminating the explosives, obviously, that we gave up last year. You do those things, and then you continue to take significant jumps, in what you want to get accomplished defensively. A lot of people talk about there was more 2-gapping. We actually played more 2-gapping the previous 2 years when I was just coaching the defensive line than what we played last year.
Really?
But obviously because of the change, the assumption is, well, they're doing this more because of this change to 3-4. But I've stated numerous times, I think that's really overstated and overblown more than what people believe it to be. Fact of the matter is we needed to coach that better, and we could have played that better than what we did, but it starts with us as coaches to get that stuff rectified and get it corrected, and that's been, like I said, the main focus this offseason to get that done. So In terms of the schematics of it, it's not that. It's just playing blocks the right way and cleaning up our fits. With obviously backers and safeties being involved with that, but the big guys up front, we got to get that done.
Is the plan to have a 3-4 again this year?
I mean, really, 3-4-4-3.
I know it's more complicated than that.
It's really one and the same. If
Yeah.
I say you're a 4-3 team and you play a lot of underfront,
Yeah.
well, guess what? That's what we're in like 95% of the time.
Yeah.
So that's why I always look like, really, it's more. It's being made
Yeah.
to be more than what it is.
We're playing an 11-man defense.
So it's 11 men on the field.
Yeah.
Figure it out. There you go.
We didn't see Tyreek Smith last year. He was banged up. Just tell me about him because we don't really know much about the young man.
We're learning a lot about him too, because when he came in last year, obviously he was hurt, and he had really one practice, and we got a chance to really evaluate him. Great kid to be around, a lot of energy, a lot of passion and juice, but he's very twitchy, explosive first step. He has, there's guys who can rush the passer, and then there's guys who have some special, unique traits that can do some things that others maybe can't do. He has some of that too, the ability to bend and turn corners and work the edge. Was trained very well in college with Coach Larry Johnson there at Ohio State. But the kid's got some stuff. We just want to see him continue to get healthy, continue to learn, and keep adding to that group.
Hey, speaking of that group, Bump has been really high on Uchenna Nwosu. Like, frequently whenever we've talked about the edge rusher group, he's always mentioned, like, hey, Uchenna, he's my prediction for, the first guy to double-digit sacks in 2023. What did you see from him last year in this defense, and what can he do this year?
Really was the exciting part was this. When he was available as a free agent, you kind of look at it and say, okay, why are they letting the guy walk out of the building? Because he's a good football player. But he's always been behind very good players, whether it was Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa, and those guys are great football players, and that's no slight to himself. But it was like now he had opportunity to kind of go take a role and take a leadership role. And we heard great things about him from USC with our strength coach, Ivan. Lewis had been there with him and knew a lot about him. And again, kind of really liking the tape. When he got here and got a chance to kind of learn him and pick his brain and how savvy he is, football awareness, and he can do all the things that we look for with outside backer. He can set edges in the run game. He has rush ability. He has the ability to have power and knock tackles back into the QB, violent finisher, things of that nature. So we kind of learned that along the way. It was like, this guy's like not just a good football player, like he's really, really good, So to see him going into year two, and I believe he's going to continue to take steps. I think he'll be a double-digit sack guy, and for the entire thing that he encompasses for the position, he can do it all. I think he's a very underrated player in our league.
Coach, it's been fun to see, football changes, right? I mean, from 10 years ago, it just looks different. And from what I've noticed, the safety position, you're asking him to do a lot more. Like if Jamal Adams was available, we see him in the too high, we see him in the box, walk him down to the line of scrimmage. You bring in a Julian Love, who I feel like is a Jamal Adams type of player. You got guys like Kobe Bryant. Just how does having that type of safety, what does it allow you to, how creative does it allow you to be on defense?
You can do so many things, with three safeties. For here, we haven't operated in three safety packages because we had one of the best weak side linebackers in football for 10 years in KJ Wright. So you kept KJ and Bobby on the field, so we generally only had two safeties. Majority of the National Football League, when you get to nickel, you play dime, and that extra backer is a safety as opposed to being a traditional linebacker, so to speak. So obviously we don't have KJ anymore, a veteran guy, great career and all that. But having Julian, having Jamal, having Quandre, now you can do so many things in terms of man coverage, who you want to match up on tight ends. If you play a unique running back out of the backfield that's an option route runner, and, generally if you're playing two linebackers on third down, 2-minute situations, you may not like that matchup. Mm-hmm. Now, whether that's Jamal or Julian, now that's in our favor. And the additional thing they bring is the ability to pressure. Obviously we know Jamal is a great blitzer, and Julian has showed that as well with his experience in New York. So just the ability to do so many different things, zone coverage, man coverage, to be able to send those guys in pressure, and it complements the rest of the package on defense. So they can bring so many different things to the trade.
I don't know how to ask this question, so I'll start with my assumption of the season last year. Once Jamal went out, based on what I had heard in the preseason and my own limited understanding of defense, I kept thinking, I feel like they didn't get to be exactly the defense they wanted because so much of it depended on how they were going to use the safeties. And without Jamal, you don't get to be everything you want to be. How much of your defense did you feel like you actually got to explore? And are you excited to head into this season, whether or not Jamal is out there, with just new weapons? Do you feel like you're entering a season going okay, I finally get to show you guys some of what I had in mind?
Yeah, I mean, it's what happened with Jamal was unfortunate. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just nothing you can do about that. There's nothing the kid can do about that. But obviously, there were some big plans in terms of how we wanted to use it that we knew was going to make it very difficult on the opponent. I would say the big thing in learning from that is you want to be strategic on how you want to put things together. Because sometimes when you invest so much into one particular way, if it doesn't go that way,
Yeah.
you don't have the time during the course of the season. Like, you got to hit the ground running. You know, you can't afford to have the performances that we had earlier in the year. You know, we want to start this thing off strong and get rolling. And we had the rough start, then we had a really good run, and then it got kind of rough again. So consistency is really what we're looking for. I've talked about that with the defense. Obviously, going into this offseason training is just being consistent about how we bring our work every single day. Consistent, obviously, in terms of what we're using and what we're playing, so we can play things at a high level. It's not about how much we do defensively. It's about, okay, what we do, let's do it at a high level.
Yeah.
And, execute at a high level. And so far, so good on where it's been going.
Coach, we appreciate the insight. We appreciate your time. You got a busy weekend with all the rookies here and some really, really exciting young guys to start incorporating here. We're excited to see what you guys do this year. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Coach.
you.